And here we are. Welcome back to the Izzyverse. My name is Izzy, and I'll be your host for today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We got big show planned for you this evening to talk about not one, but we're going to be talking about two MCU shows that just finished. We have one that was a special. We have one that series finale that we're going to be talking about. And that is She-Hulk. We're going to be reviewing She-Hulk. We'll be giving our spoiler review for She-Hulk. So I'm letting you know right now, spoiler warning, She-Hulk review. Also, we're going to talk about Werewolf by Night and the special MCU special that came out about a week ago. So now's our time to talk a little bit about it. But let me introduce to you my guest for this evening. Guy, you're familiar. If you see my show, you know who he is. Always in our show, always great with our panels. Andrew, what's up, bro?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
All right, Andrew, you're excited to talk a little bit about She-Hulk and Werewolf by Night?
Absolutely.
All right,
Two of my favorites.
Two of your favorites. Another person that you're familiar with in the show that's been in our show plenty of times when we talk about Star Wars. We're going to get ready to talk about Andor pretty soon in the next couple of weeks. So really hype about that one. Our good friend, Roberto. What's up, Roberto?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. You got a little bit of static now going on there, Roberto. So, and finally, he's been in our show before. Who did a review for, I think it was Thor. I don't even remember now. I'm thinking about it, but he was in a spoiler show, and he's back for more. He is the hungry artist, Gary. What's going on, Gary?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right. So let's get started, and we're going to talk a little bit about She-Hulk. We're going to spend some time talking about She-Hulk. Overall opinions on She-Hulk without spoiling anything. I'll start with you, Gary. What was your overall thoughts of She-Hulk?
I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was fun. I certainly defended it to some people that maybe complained about a few things, didn't think it was as funny as the comics. But you know, I had mixed feelings about it, but I did think it was fun and I did enjoy it.
Okay, Roberta, what about you? Overall take without spoiling anything on She-Hulk.
It was definitely different compared to what we've seen with the MCU. Very different, kind of like it was funny, and I enjoyed the parts that were funny. But overall, it took a while for me to get used to that very different kind of tone or direction that they went with it. You know, the little unexpected, but yeah.
All right, and Andrew, your turn. Same question without spoiling anything. Overall take.
You know what? It's really hilarious, and it's one of those. It's going to be one of those MCU movies that we're not going to be able to define it. Great start, great middle, great reveals, and I'm a little mixed at the ending. But yeah,
Yeah, that ending, right? I will say a completely unexpected ending. I'll admit to that one. It went without spoiling too much, but we're gonna spoil it in a second. In a second, but without spoiling too much, dare I say they may have went a little too meta, right? I think, and I think they were trying to go towards that John Burns style, which I think in many cases they hit it right on the nail. But I think, especially when this last episode, they might have missed the mark. They were going somewhere, and I think, without saying too much, I think it might have had a better end result if the reveal was who it should have been, rather than what it ended up being. If you know what I'm talking about. Well, there's two reveals really, but I'm talking about the overall show's reveal, not the spoiler at the end reveal.
my God.
All right, so let's. It's time to do the spoiler. So, spoiler warning, everybody, because it's hard to explain this without spoiling, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, I think it would have been much better if Kevin was supposed to be Kevin Feige rather than an AI called Kevin. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'd say I thought, and this is where I said I was defending the fourth wall breaks because I thought I'm digging it when she turns and looks at the camera, but when she's leaving the panel to go. And again, it was fun.
It was a fun ending. It was a fun little
multiverse. We don't need you to go behind the scenes, and whether it was Kevin Feige or not, I did have fun watching it. I was like, all right, at this point, I'll just
go with it, right?
But I did think like, okay, now you this is too far, That's So.
Yeah, because again, when as I'm watching this, and again, we talked a lot about it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But as I'm watching this, and I'm like, they keep talking, and then I was watching with closed captions. That was the funny part. Yeah. A lot of people, if you watch it with closed captions, you would notice that they ended up spelling the name Kevin, right? So it's K-E-V. So if you're listening to it and watching it without the captions, you would never have gotten that reference in that way. But as she gets to the office, it ends up being like a camera that has a visor to make it look like Kevin Feige's baseball cap that he always wears. And I thought that was funny. It was clever. I'll admit to that. I think it would have been better if it was actually Kevin Feige. Yeah. If it was Kevin Feige, I think that would have been like the saving grace of it all. That's my personal take.
Yeah.
It was funny. I gotta admit, it was funny.
May I add
something?
Go
for it, man. Go for it.
I really hoped, because to me, I'm a huge fan of the cartoon. I wanted her to see that Kevin was MODOK, but with Kevin Feige's face on it, because an artist would have done that. I'm telling you, you would have had, wait, is MODOK Kevin Feige? It would have been, to me, I would have been like fourth wall and Kevin Feige is MODOK. I would have been like, done. Because I've been just recently watched the MODOK shorts and the MODOK cartoons. And I'm just crying. Like, I was like, oh, the possibilities. They could have just said, hey, it could have been it could have been like Kang just chilling out too. That would have been cool, because it would have been like connected to like what's happening. And that fourth wall thing is something you really would want for this madness, multiverse of madness and Quantumania that's coming out. It would have been perfect for that. Kevin Feige as a Fallout 4 style villain who's who's just like an AI. Mm-hmm. Okay, I accepted it, but at least did we even hear Kevin Feige's voice?
No, it was a robot.
I was like, even have Kevin Feige's voice, and it would have been like perfect.
I'm telling you, man, if it would have been Kevin, I would have been sold. The fact that it wasn't Kevin, because again, as everyone was going across to it, they couldn't even, I would have said, pull off some Wizard of Oz kind of vibe to it, right? Where when you do see it, it is the AI, but then you see Kevin in the background actually performing the work. That probably would have been cool. I would have been down with that. But the fact that I guess they dropped the ball with that. But before we even keep on to the season finale,
let's go. Yelling at the writers was a brilliant thing.
Yeah, let's go do a recap of the season as a whole. So we start off the season really simple. We start off with some love for Hulk and how she becomes She-Hulk, which I did enjoy. I did enjoy their chemistry. Their chemistry was really good. It was strong. It was very clear that they were different. And she had a better grasp at her abilities because Banner Bruce's abilities is really based off of psychological issues that he had prior to becoming the Hulk, his daddy issues, as they like to say, which she definitely talked a little bit about in the season finale as well, right? So, what do you guys thought about that relationship that they built from each other?
I thought it was great. I thought it was one of the stronger episodes, a good, strong start to the series. I mean, so for me, I never read the She-Hulk comics, so this was one of those fans coming in fresh to She-Hulk. Yeah. But seeing all the MCU, familiar with what's, within the comics to some levels, and seeing some of the cartoons, I mean, I thought it was good. I think that episode did kind of what most kind of like MCU starter movies would do. You introduce a character, you get the origin, and then a nice kind of condensed, but kind of almost like, I don't know, it sounds almost like a sweet way,
Yeah. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that was one of the strongest episodes, honestly. It was fun to see the Hulk in it. It was actually fun to see her relationship with him, because I feel like even in the comics, it's kind of like, she's my cousin, and then they always are kind of separate. Really, they spent time together. You got to see their relationship. Got to get a little bit more backstory with the Hulk and how he went and was able to become basically Dr. Hulk, I guess we could call him. Was able to fuse the two sides. I really enjoyed that part of it, and I enjoyed seeing her grow and seeing how, like you said, he had issues. He has anger issues. She does too, a little more under control, and they explain why. But I enjoyed it. I thought that was one of the strongest episodes for sure.
Yep.
Andrew?
Yeah, you know what I love about it? Even with this first episode, even to going into latter episodes, it's her strong sense of family. Like that show really has a strong sense of family and who are the Walters, who's Jen Walters is, who loves her, who will protect her. Like, I love the fact that you can tell that it wasn't just like, oh, Jennifer. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, hey man, you punk, and then like even the drinking scene. So yeah, you know, it's just like you can tell they actually have a relationship. And certain things in writing in comics, they don't really show that much with the Hulk and She-Hulk. And when they do, it's just weird.
I agree.
Most importantly, we know whether or not Captain America is a virgin now. So taken care of.
Which a lot of people had problems with. There was people that had issues with that.
I hoped he hooked up in World War II. It was war. Come on, he's a GI.
You know, he's not that dorky.
Yeah.
He ain't no Steve Carell, you know what I'm saying?
Put me in a super serum. Every dude. Put us in a super serum. Pecs. Of course we're gonna. Of course. And war. Done.
Exactly. All right, moving on. We have Emil Blonsky. This is a character that's gone through some major changes from when we first saw him in the Incredible Hulk series, right? So we saw him in the Incredible Hulk series. He very much wanted the super soldier serum. He very much was somewhat jealous of the Hulk. Here, he becomes a very different character. And you know, when it comes to the Abomination, for me, the Abomination, I know the Abomination's in different you know, versions of him. So I know the comic book version was very much like the original Incredible Hulk movie. And I also know about, I don't know if you guys ever watched this cartoon, the Superhero Squad. If you ever watched the Superhero Squad, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. One of the best parodies of superhero cartoons you'll see. It's done so well. I'm sad that it didn't get the run it should have gotten, but it's so good. So if you ever get a chance to see it, watch it. You can watch it with kids. It's perfect. But well, starting with you, Andrew, tell me what your thoughts on how the evolution of the Abomination and Emil Blonsky in particular.
Yeah. What I love is like you have this like really absent-minded or even anger raging monster, and then you got the, hey, here's my human psych style of character. What I loved about it was Tim Roth is hilarious. I didn't all his movies I've ever seen, they weren't that fun. He was never a funny actor. This one made him like he had like comedic undertones that I enjoyed. Even with like the namaste and all the just like, oh, and here's like my wives and we're gonna start like a commune. I was like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah, this little cult thing going on.
I was like, yo, I'm gonna tell you right now, this him and Wong, just yeah, and the whole like him going to prison, him going. Basically hulking up to his parole board guys and they just run away. Hey, I'm just a regular guy. I just hulked up. Why are you so afraid? Like, dude, you're an abomination.
Yeah.
Oh, and the guard crying. He saved my marriage. Like, just
Roberto, you tell me, what's your thoughts?
I think it was good. It's kind of good to see that like they're not killing off every villain out there. You know, as long as you get, because that's the thing with the comics. You always have these recurring villains. You know, that come back and You know, in the beginning of the MCU, everybody kind of died. You know.
Well, yeah, that was a movie. That was a movie trope, right? It started with Batman, right? In Batman, they killed the Joker off, and it just kept on happening. It's like the end result of every movie is like the death of the villain. It was like, why? You know what I mean? So, in his case, he was a character that it would appear that he could have died, but then they found a way to bring him back. As did the leader, which I was a little shocked by that one, but that's something else we'll talk about when we get more to that last episode. Gary, what do you say?
Definitely, I would say if I wanted to see the Abomination, not the version I'd want, but it worked really well for the show. I really like the Easter egg of the Hulk actually saying, you know, I was literally a different person then. Edward Norton. And I like anytime they connect more to that movie, because for a while it really felt like the movie that wasn't part of the actual MCU, you know, and the more they keep pulling from it, I think that's pretty cool to see characters like that come back. And I did think he was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, he was great. And at this point, the only person we don't have coming back is Jennifer, right? Betty. What I'm saying, Jennifer. It's Jennifer Connelly is the actress that played her in the first Hulk movie, and it was Liv Tyler that played her in Incredible Hulk. So that's the only person we haven't seen return, right? We have Thunderbolt, we have Emil. The leader is coming back. I forgot the name of the actor who played the leader. So they're all coming back. The only one that's not coming back is Liv right now. And who's to say she's not coming back? Because last I checked, she's not really doing anything. So it might be a nice little paycheck for her there somewhere along the lines. But I don't know how that could have. What was that?
Who else played Betty? Because I really am like.
So in the Hulk movie, it was Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah. Who's like married to.
In the Incredible Hulk movie, it was Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler, which I like Jennifer Connelly a little more than Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler, I don't know. She doesn't strike me as a good actress, to be quite honest. I don't feel her.
Who's that?
Jennifer, Liv Tyler, I don't really feel her as a good actress.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't really. She always has this
one hell of an elf
feel. You know what I mean? And
she's
I don't know.
Hell of an elf, though.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's definitely better. She's great in Top Gun, by the way. Okay, so let's move on to another fun episode. I have to say one of my favorite episodes, right? The Wong episode, right? The Wong episode. And what's her name again? I can try to remember her name.
Madison with a Y.
But that's not what it means. She was awesome. All right, she was great. And it was the right setting, the right tone for the show. And Wong is one of those characters that you could do him any different way. You could play him off as a serious character, or he could be played off as a comedic character, because even in Doctor Strange he does that, right? He kind of like flips-flops from being serious to being more comedic. Now, in the role that he's in as Sorcerer Supreme, it becomes a little difficult for him to be a little more comedic. But then again, we all know who's the real Sorcerer Supreme here. He's just the guy that has the role because Doctor Strange got blip. So, Roberto, talk to me. Wong,
you know, I remember when Stan Lee died, they said that someone else is kind of going to be fulfilling that role, the cameras. And is it Wong? Has he been in everything since Stan Lee died? Like,
so Wong is actually playing more the role of a Coulson, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried that Wong is going to go bye-bye sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has been. It was good to see this different version of him. You know, it's kind of like, here he is, he gets stuck. You know.
It was did you guys catch the Easter egg of that episode with the other character's name, Donnie Blaze?
Yeah.
Come on, it's obvious, right? Who he's supposed to be. Gary, talk to me. Wong, Donnie Blaze.
Wong, a character that was such a small character in the comics that just keeps getting better. and better. And I think I read somewhere, and who knows with what you read anymore online, but that they didn't even have that plan, that ending post-credit scene.
Yeah.
But they liked her character so much, they were like, just riff a little bit, have fun. And that was one of the funniest parts of the episode, I thought, was those two watching streaming television.
They were watching The Sopranos, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Stop telling me the ending. Like, stop spoiling it for me. No, like, here's the thing. Like, my favorite scene of the whole thing was she pops in like in the courtroom, and she's like, she went from one party that she got sucked out of to another, and then she's like there with a martini. Oh my God, Wongers! And forever he's going to be known as Wongers. Oh my God.
Well, for me was the fact that she struck a deal with a goat and she wasn't supposed to reveal the secret, but she still said it anyway. Like, yeah, he told me not to say anything, but he said do this. Is that Mephisto?
Dude, that's that goat character they used to use back in the day when I'm gonna tell you right now, like, they're bringing out characters from the vault.
Yeah.
For this one, they brought some characters out to the vault.
Oh, they went deep. They did deep cuts. All right, so moving on, let's go with the Wrecking Crew. Now, a lot of people didn't even realize this was the Wrecking Crew. They kind of like just came in. They came in for that one scene, right? Now, the Wrecking Crew it's a very interesting group, right? Because they are kind of like a C-list villain group. But in the comic books, every time you saw them, it wasn't like you were scared, but it was kind of like, it was almost like a Spider-Man like villain group. You know what I mean? Where you never really took them serious because they were so they were what they were, but they had enchanted powers. So this one was based off of the Chitauri stuff. That's how they were using the powers. And they did a with one of the characters, I can't remember their names because I can't remember the Wrecking Crew's names, but they did do a race swap, if you guys know what I'm talking about, with one of the characters, where he went from being a black character in the comic books and he turned him into a white character in the show. Yeah, but what do you guys thought about the Wrecking Crew, even though we didn't really get much of them?
By their children. Yeah. It's their children. I can't accept that as a Wrecking Crew.
I agree. I especially as an artist, when you see the Wrecking Crew, like you said, yeah, they usually didn't do too much. Well, they did do some damage to streets, but not anything.
They were the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
they were
huge. And when you're pulling characters that are like, Marvel's digging in, like we just said, to get something. Oh, here's a character we can use. Wrecking Crew could have been something a lot more than this. This felt like Electro in the Spider-Man movie, where it's just Chitauri, equipment. So yeah, I was a little disappointed with that. But hey.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Like when I first saw the Wrecking Crew, I was like, well, a missed opportunity to like pretty much get like A-list or even B-list actors, even C-list actors to play this, and I've never even met half these characters, and I'm usually love the fact that the Wrecking Crew, even the comic book, was a prelude to a bigger guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were always street thugs.
They were always
thugs.
Street thugs, but they were always a prelude. They were always a prelude to a bigger guy.
Yeah.
And so, if you watch the third episode, if you watch this last episode, the prelude to the bigger guy doesn't match either.
Oh no, that's part of the problem with that season finale episode, which obviously we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. But that's what we got with the Wrecking Crew. Let's move on. Titania. This was a character that I actually enjoyed, and Jamil, I do like her a lot. I enjoyed what they did with Titania, right? Because she is a social influencer, but in like the craziest thing, she she took the name She-Hulk and registered it. And we talked earlier before the show started about LLC in it. So she had the rights to the name She-Hulk. How genius was that? Even though it backfired on her. So what do you guys think about Titania? I personally enjoyed her.
It was good. It was fun. It was definitely brought a different aspect. You know, I think especially with the episode where you had the whole legal battle over She-Hulk's name. You know, a different level of comedy. And also like a little bit like you would have thought like, oh, you'd have to like, copyright your own like superhero name. It's like, you wouldn't think like Batman's out there like, okay, let's make sure I have all the rights to all the Batman toys out there. It's like, oh, that happened, and now here she is. She's kind of can't do her thing. Like, it was interesting. It was interesting bringing that aspect of it. Because I mean, isn't that like kind of like everything in America? Like, people are so happy. I'm going to sue you for use of this, or you did this.
Well,
thing.
yeah, that was the point,
Captain
right?
America, except Captain America, because I think he would have been public domain by now.
Well, the 40s, he's not there yet. Not there yet. Still got a few more years to get public domain.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because it'll be like we're like in the 20s, so Mickey Mouse is actually on the verge of being public domain, but they're fixing that. They're working on fixing this. Yeah, Gary, talk to me. Tell me what you thought about Titania.
I thought she fit the show perfectly. I remember people were complaining about like her costume and stuff, and I'm like, just wait for the show, and there's gonna be a reason, and there's a reason why. She's a social media influencer. I think the actress, I think she's great.
Yeah, she's great.
So I thought they did a good job with her.
Yeah, the fact that we got her in multiple episodes as well. We got her in a few episodes. Right in the beginning, we get to her. Like, she was trying to escape from something. So that was one episode. We get the episode where she's trying to sue Jennifer for the namesake for the copyright. You got the wedding episode, which I thought was funny with the wedding episode. I told you I was going to get my revenge. Like, she wants revenge on She-Hulk, but she's trying all different methods besides actually fighting She-Hulk. She's just right. So she's just fitting this villainous role in the most ridiculous way, which I thought was fitting for the show and for what the character that they want to pull off. So I personally enjoyed her. Another character that I really enjoyed from the moment I saw him, because again, in the comic books, he was a joke. He's part of the not the West Coast, but the Great Lake Adventure, Mr. Immortal. And I love their take on this character without turning him into a superhero type archetype. They ended up just saying this is a guy that just tries to escape his wives, which I thought was too funny. Like he's non-confrontational. All right. Hey, what's up, Carlos? My boy Carlos is in the house. Check it out. Say what's up to Roberto.
Hey, how you doing, Carlos?
Yeah. So, Gary, Mr. Immortal.
I thought that was great. I think this was parts of the show that I wish there was more of. I mean, I like the connection to the Hulk with other characters, but more characters in the actual law firm that we got to see a little bit of that are just so obscure and hilarious, and really, I think some of the best parts of the whole series were some of these small characters that just showed up for a little bit and added a lot of humor. So that was great.
The fairy, the shapeshifter fairy. We didn't talk about that character.
Yeah,
she was great. She was weird, but she was great.
Hey, anything with Megan Thee Stallion. That's what I gotta say. Yeah. She's like, I don't care, man. I was like, oh, that's what you get, girl. Like, yeah, laughing my ass off.
But no. I did enjoy the fact that he had to like stare at one of his ex in the face for like 10 minutes, and it was very difficult for him because he always likes to leave a scene. He's always like, I gotta get out. I can't.
Just remember, I loved you all. I was like, yeah.
He even had one of them was a guy too. That was the funny part. It's like, oh no, this guy equal opportunity lover.
The actor, I really think the actor should just
gotta love Megan Thee Stallion, you know it.
No, but the actor who played him, Mr. Immortal, he needs to be in more things because his own. That's what I say with an actor, a performance sold a character that we rarely see. That's a performance of a lifetime for this actor, and it was just I thought it was hilarious. This guy should be doing more stuff. I want more Mr. Immortal in the background.
I want to see him again someday, so hopefully we'll get to see him again. All right, the big one,
Daredevil.
The Daredevil episode. Whew. First
Canon.
of all, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I love the fact that we got to see a different side of Daredevil, a side of Daredevil that we do see in the comic books, the Mark Waid version of Daredevil that we got to see, that we never got to get to see in the TV series because he was so dark and brooding. He was so Frank Miller in the other TV series. But here he was like, when they told Charlie Cox, you're gonna play Daredevil, and they say, okay, yeah, cool, what am I do? You're gonna be in She-Hulk. And he's like, sure, let's do this. Let's make this happen. He was very happy. It was obvious it was very different Daredevil. It was not the same Daredevil. But that's me. What do you guys say about Daredevil?
Daredevil hooked up. That's
I
Like
feel
the
bad
minute-
that he had having to do the walk of shame.
Oh yeah, when he comes out with no boots, that's just hilarious to me.
I was like, oh.
Let's not forget Leapfrog.
Yeah.
Leapfrog
Oh my
was a
God.
great character too. The fact that he's suing the guy who made the costume, and it was because he put jet fuel in it. In the boots. So
I did not say to put that.
okay, so we kind of get a hallway scene, which I thought was cute. It was a nice little knot. A friend of mine was like, "That was no hallway scene." Yeah, it was a hallway scene.
It was a hallway scene. Yeah.
It was a hallway scene. We knew we were gonna get. Now I'm shocked that She-Hulk didn't make a mention of the hallway scene because she does break the fourth wall, and I think that was a little bit of the problem I was finding with the show. Is that there was moments that she was breaking the fourth wall, and there was moments that she should have broke the fourth wall and she didn't. And this was one of those episodes that she could have broken the fourth wall a few times with this particular version of Daredevil, because she could have played it off like a different Spider-Man, kind of like where in Deadpool. I don't remember in Deadpool when he said we're gonna go see Mr. Professor X. He says which one, Patrick or James, right? If you remember from the first, I thought she would actually do something with that one. Like this is not the same Daredevil from the other show. So, but personally, I liked it. You guys tell me what's your thoughts on this version of Daredevil?
It's definitely softer, and like you said, it could have been a fourth wall, like, oh, he's kumbaya, like, Abomination, like he's gotten softer, almost a reference of like all these characters who were really hard when they started are now a little bit calmer,
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it. It makes me interested in what they're gonna do, because I think the plan for the Daredevil series is that it's supposed to be one of the longer running
18 episodes.
Yeah.
18, they're going like old school television with the Daredevil show. I'm sure I'll have my feeling is going to go 9 episodes. They're going to take like a little hiatus, then they'll come back to it. That's my take on it. But yeah, it's 18 episodes. It's going to be a long one, and it's called Born Again. But they kind of already did Born Again in Netflix, so I think this is more like Born Again. Like this is a new Daredevil rather than what we saw on Netflix.
Pretty much like DC Plus friendly.
I think what we've learned in the shows, especially when we start talking about Werewolf by Night, I think they'll go all the way now, because as much as you want to say the Netflix shows were MA, they really weren't. They were like hard PG-13, probably. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they didn't really curse or anything. There were certain scenes here and there, but nothing went R-rated, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying right now that the cool thing about like Daredevil being in the show was when she did break the fourth wall, it was kind of like he's stealing my show to like, holy crap, this is the guy I'm gonna like plan a family with, and that's in the scope of that entire show, like in scope of like She-Hulk. My biggest problem with the entire show was either they didn't give you enough fourth wall, but her breaking the fourth, like you said, that whole scene, if she broke the fourth wall right there, she's like, oh my God, I'm actually a part of this.
Yeah, like I'm in a hallway scene. Like,
yeah, it would have been like, it would have been perfect. Like, I'm sorry doing that, but it would have been perfect. But I liked what they did.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else before I move on?
Yeah, I'm eager to see what tone the show takes because he's been a lot more fun and
Mhm.
on She-Hulk that fits. But I do think the show will be a little bit darker like the Netflix show. I don't think it'll be as dark
Mhm.
with the MCU, but they can definitely make it darker, and I'm eager to see where they go.
So
Yeah,
you
and I
think
believe this yellow costume is just for She-Hulk. I
yeah,
think if
this is
we see,
LA. Yeah, this is
yeah,
LA
so
Daredevil.
what I think is going to happen with the costume is I think we're just going to get a transition from the yellow to the back to the red in some way in the show, whether it's in the first episode or in the first few episodes. I think this yellow costume is just there to give us something like this is a different Daredevil. This is not the same one from the Netflix show. Yes, it's the same actor, but it's a different version of the same character where in the comic books they would do that kind of stuff all the time. All right. One thing Carlos likes to say, they're setting up Bullseye. Yeah, at the end of Daredevil, I never actually finished Daredevil. I want to go back to finish it, but I feel like it's almost like a waste now to go back and finish it. Like I was into it. I liked the Bullseye character where they were going with it, but I never even got a chance to actually finish watching it. But I want to say Colin Farrell Bullseye is kind of a close favorite of mine. I do like Colin Farrell Bullseye to a certain extent,
Just put him in
It's
a costume. Yeah.
yeah, just give him. But it was reminiscent of the costume they put in the comics, so I was okay with that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Kevin. We talked a little bit about Kevin. The hat. And they put the hat in, and this episode, this is the season finale episode, was all over the place. It was the epitome of meta. It was meant to be the fourth wall breaking episode. It was going somewhere, and I think it was going to this climax, and it just died, like almost to the point they almost said, "I forget it. We don't even want to go any further with this," because Intelligentsia, my personal opinion, what it is that Intelligentsia should have been a prelude to the leader, because they never answered the question of like who wanted the soldier serum, who wanted the serum, right? It ended up being the dork, which I didn't understand. I didn't understand who they were. Like they were women haters. I didn't get that.
Well, I think the underlying thing with them even was like kind of making fun of like all like the fans who like get upset of like why did they change, what was it, like Constantine to a female, and that's not the way it is, and people were like, that's what it felt like they were trying to go, like making
Like a gender swapping thing.
Yeah, with the swapping and even like ethnicity swapping, but it was a bit of a letdown because at one point like the thing was like when they had the wrecking crew, they were trying to get the blood, but there was also this thing of like, how do you kill She-Hulk? And they never went anywhere. Like it was like they were.
Well, her date as well, right? Even her date. Her date was like, I got what I needed. And it was just for that guy to get the serum and then to say, screw it, we're not gonna do this. I get what they were pulling off there, but it didn't, it should have ended with a villain to end the show rather than we're just gonna end the show.
Well, and that goes to the formula that people complain about. And she touched on it saying, well, isn't that the formula we always have where there's a big battle at the end? And the thing is, people might have enjoyed it and said, oh, that's cool. That's funny. She called it out and then the show just ends basically. But it kind of does her a disservice because you've had this whole show. You want a big climax, whether it's Abomination does turn out to be bad, whether it was the guy with the serum, or whether or not you found out Intelligentsia was working for a bigger bad to set up something else. But it really just feels like, okay, so your big climax is just this huge fourth wall break. And to me, it was like, well, this has been a good enough show. It should have had that ending. And yes, it's formulaic, but there's a reason it works.
But it could have still been a fourth wall breaking moment where it says, okay, guys, we're gonna reveal who the big villain is, right? Yeah. And then you get to reveal the big. It should have been again. I say it should have been leader because the leader is the guy that's always wants their blood, right? Either it was the leader or it's Thunderbolt. I know Thunderbolt is currently
Thunderbolt.
They're working on Thunderbolt right now because there's a rumor that Harrison Ford might become Thunderbolt. I don't know how I feel about that because Harrison Ford is old and, Nothing against him. I think he's a great actor, but I don't think he'll probably fit for the role. But I don't think you need someone like that for that role. I think Thunderbolt Ross could have been the villain. You could have done something with that. Like they could have done something like, a phone call. You know how I'm saying? And he's not. You just see his back, and you could hear his voice. It's, "Thank you, Mr. Ross," and click, end of show. That's how you close it. That's your big reveal. Who's responsible for getting this her blood, right? Because we all know it's going to lead up to a Red Hulk, which she mentions in the show. She brings up as a fourth wall break. It's like, Red Hulk. So I think that was a mishap.
Hints that kind of went nowhere, because even like the name Hulk King, I almost thought it was like, oh, they're gonna do something with the multiverse and maybe Maestro coming from the future or some other world, and he's trying to. That's why they got rid of Bruce Banner, like to set that up, like he's the villain, and just it was a weird, all these little setups that just kind of like went nowhere.
They just went nowhere. They went nowhere, and that's why I think that's what people are upset about. So that ended it off. But before we ended off the series, and we got a few minutes to talk about it before we get into our next topic.
I didn't see it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say right now, it was the epic family
fail
episode. Yeah, no, it was the epic family episode. Like, it's like Fast Forward 9, where everyone's sitting down in a picnic eating. Here, man, let me introduce another cat that we could have put any time or later.
Okay, so he went to space to get his son. So what? He now has custody? Is that what they're pulling off here?
Yeah. Like,
and look at, and I'm sorry. And Sakaar, look at him. This looks terrible.
Well, my thing is too, and he said, "I'll explain it to you." Is that a movie that we're gonna see? Is him going back to Sakaar, and we get to see another Battle World Hulk, or is it going to be?
Yeah, better rate bill.
Because otherwise, why'd you show him already? And then we know how we know those two are leaving to come back. We've done enough in between movies. I want to see things going forward, but I want to see that story too.
Yeah, I'd rather see the story than to see this reveal, and this reveal looks terrible. This reveal is one of the worst reveals I've seen. Because, first of all, look at Sakaar. Sakaar, if you see him in the comic books, he is a barbaric type character, right? So
he's quintessentially he's quintessentially an orc.
He's Conan.
Yeah.
Right?
Green Conan.
And what we see is like this snot-nosed little kid. Like, it doesn't it was so flat. I don't know what they were thinking at this moment, but again, it's one of those things that I've already heard that Kevin Feige is not as involved as he's always been, because there's too much going on. So I think this was a lack of focus on what to do with the reveal of Sakaar. If you were going to do Sakaar, then have him in space. That's how I say. And give, like you say, Gary, give me the space story, or give me the start of what the space story is going to be. Because he went to space to go, really, because he now has custody of Sakaar. That's the way it came out to me. It's like, it's like his wife called him up, saying, "Hey, you got to go pick up your kid now," and he went to pick up his kid.
And again, and I think there could be a great movie in there, because we got a bit of Planet Hulk in Thor Ragnarok, and we could have gotten another one. Basically, we
could have worked on Werewolf Hulk, which is what everybody wants to see eventually.
Yeah,
but I think what we need to get, honestly, I think it's time to get rid of Smart Hulk. Smart Hulk has to go bye soon. That's my personal opinion.
I think what they're going to do with Smart Hulk is they're going to give him let's just say something retroactive that makes him angrier, but so they're going to probably split his personality into 3. So you have
I don't want to see that. I want to see my Savage Hulk back.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you right. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, though, this here looked like they didn't have enough. Like, they did. No, it's not even that. Like, this is when you're like paint yourself in a corner, and you've written yourself in a corner, and you have to get something off real quickly, because you focus so much on probably on the meta, you never got the chance to actually ground break something like this. Because I'm going to tell you right now, like this is like, oh, this is Scar. Yeah, whatever, Scar. I'm like, okay. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be just Daredevil being the reveal, but you've already revealed Daredevil. That's a bigger sell than a lot of other things. Scar, who cares? Like, it's really like in that point where, I liked She-Hulk until like pretty much this episode, to the point where like, okay, let me sit back because this is just like the ride was over, like the fun ride was over. Sorry to say it like that, man, but it just felt like it was over.
Yeah, and with that, like with the fundraiser, like I kind of feel like, in addition, there's a little bit of that forgetting who has been kind of like one of the driving forces with the MCU. It's like, yes, it's the hardcore fans, but it's also all these new people who are like, they just got on board because they saw Iron Man, and now they're rolling through. And so some people are gonna look like fans like us are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's Scar, Scar, and we know him who he is. Other people are gonna be like, who is he? Why should I care about him? Oh, so Hulk as a kid, and it just leaves very empty,
Exactly.
Like, they kind of forgot about that group of people that aren't, deep into the comics.
Agree. So with that being said, let's move on. Let's move lanes, because we're gonna go into, because we only got a few minutes to talk a little bit about it, but we have to talk about it. Let's talk about Werewolf by Night. So Werewolf by Night, which for me actually became a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I know there were rumbles about it, but I wasn't expecting it to just pop up out of nowhere, because it technically did, right?
Surprise got made.
What was that? Oh, I'm surprised it got made, but I'm also happy that it got made the way it got made. Werewolf by Night, again, I think we've talked a little bit about this, is a lesser known character, but very in depth with the supernatural elements of the 70s comics. So Werewolf by Night never really had a long run in the comics. It kind of goes in and kind of goes out. They kind of bring it back. Doesn't really do much, but he's really part of the Midnight Suns approach to the supernatural.
The Legion of Monsters as well.
Yeah, the Legion of Monsters, and he's part of that whole atmosphere of comics. So with Werewolf by Night, we have the actor who's playing him, and his name, and I had his name here,
Jamel Garcia.
Who is known for, he's one of the voices of Hector from Coco. But what do you guys thought of this version of Werewolf by Night in general, in regards to him playing the character of Jack Russell? And Jack Russell is very different than in the comics than he is here in this special.
You know what? Okay, because I did kind of read Werewolf by Night when I was a kid, and even the old comic books. I'm going to tell you right now, like, this was a fun noir kind of style, and
Vincent Price at his best, right?
Vincent Price at his best, right? It kind of gave me like the can we make a black and white, an all black and white universe of just like of the Legion of Monsters? Because I remember, like, I mean, they already presented 3 of them right now, so I don't want to spoil the other stuff, but they presented him.
Oh, this is a spoiler alert. We're going all spoiler here.
So they presented him. They presented Morbius, who's also part of the Legion of Monsters.
Man. He doesn't count.
I know, but they presented someone to be that Morbius. So Morbius is already in a Marvel. They can always recast. Come on, they've recast Rhodey. They've recast a bunch of other guys.
Morbius is part of the Spider-Man universe of Sony.
Yeah, and also you have like Naruto, the Living Mummy. You got of course, Man-Thing and my favorite one
Dracula. We forgot Dracula.
And my favorite thing was even the whole ceremony. They actually show a skull with fangs. I'm just keep on, because I want to talk more about this.
Yeah. What about the rest of you? What's your knowledge of Werewolf by Night? Because mine is very minimal. I'll admit to that.
Yeah, very limited. Besides knowing about a little bit about the comic and some of the characters, I thought Man-Thing looked great. I thought the black and white noir style, I think they did a better job with a monster movie, both looking new and showing like homage to all the old monster movies, both the way the werewolf looked, just the way the silhouettes were, and the black and white. I think a lot of monster movies could take a note from this. I thought it was great, and I hope we don't have to wait till next Halloween to see more.
Oh, it's Andrew. Hi, Andrew. That's Josh, my good friend, who happens to be related to Carlos. What's up, Josh?
Long time no see.
Each other in Comic-Con, Josh.
Yeah,
we definitely got to catch up. All right, so we got our actor. I personally did enjoy it, and again, like I said, it's one of those comic books that for me, I was never really a big fan of those supernatural comic books.
I was,
it just didn't do it. The monsters didn't really do it for me. I don't know why, but it was a very 70s era of things. But we did get another character that's relatively new in the Marvel universe, and that's Elsa Bloodstone. In the comic book, she debuted in 2003, and she was part of that lineage of the Bloodstones. So we had Ulysses Bloodstone that in the show he passed away. I did enjoy what they did with Ulysses Bloodstone. I like how he was like this he was just bringing up. They did this animatronics. That was funny. It was great. The only thing I will say was a bit of a complaint is I wanted to know who the other people were that were there. So the other individuals, which you would never get to know who they were afterwards, were they other characters that were in the comic books and things like that. But in her case, it was just, this is part of her bloodline. She just went to get her stone. She really doesn't care. I don't know. Did you guys catch? I know I did. I caught some Jessica Jones vibes.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like she looks too much like Jessica Jones, and it could be the black and white.
The actress did a show called, I think, Nevers or something, and I believe it's I am not sure who did it, but it's I think it's a Joss Whedon show that was on HBO, and it's like basically period 1800s and add mutants to it. So she's already done like a superhero show out of the Whedon verse, I think, if you want to call it like that. What I loved about it was I wanted to know more about the Bloodstones. I actually went after watching. I was like, okay, I don't really remember the Bloodstone. I know the character, but I did not know that there was a Bloodstone. And through like just my minutes of research, the Bloodstone, what was the Reality Stone or fragments of the Reality Stone? That just
that's a good question. I will have to look into it and do some more research. I did get to see it. I saw the episode last week, and I saw it again today. And there is something about that stone that's a little different, but it is a one-of-a-kind stone. So that's one thing they did mention. It's a one-of-a-kind stone. I don't think it's related to the Infinity Gems in any way.
That's right. And I was looking at it, and when I was looking at my research, this thing gives you immunity to vampirism. I was just like, wait a minute, so this can't be.
Which she has. She has. Right. So it's in her bloodline, so she's immune to all that stuff.
I was just more like, I need to read more of this because, like, having that cool book, having like, again, you're talking to the guy who loves zombies, horror, D&D artifacts, and
So we got a few more minutes. Let's go to the last character, which Joaquin absolutely loved, and I loved it as well. Our good friend Ted. And Ted is a very interesting character. So his name is Dr. Ted Salas. He's Dr. Theodore Ted Salas. And Man-Thing, which debuted in Strange Tales, he is the one that's most familiar to me. He is, obviously, there's a joke behind his name. Which there is a joke behind his name. But what's very interesting is that he was created by Stan Lee, Roy Thompson, and Jerry Conway. And he has a very interesting origin to him. When it comes to Man-Thing's going to be someone that's going to be very important for this phase, I'm going to say, because he is the keeper. He's one of the keepers of the Nexus. And if anybody knows about the Nexus, they're the beings that could go through the multiverse. So he's kind of like Scarlet Witch in that way, and like Wanda. And he does have the powers that he demonstrated in the show, in the special, are very similar to the powers that he demonstrated in the comic books, where fear, if you're fearful, then kind of it's almost like a Ghost Rider thing, right? So when Ghost Rider does the stare at people, it brings out the fear. He has something very similar to that. What do you guys think? Did you like Man Thing? Was he cool enough for you? Robert,
cool.
you lit?
Yeah.
He looked great in black and white, though. In black and white, he looked awesome. The way they made his eyes glow.
Yeah. I wish we saw more of him. And that was my one thing I could say where even parts of it left me confused because it just seemed so short and condensed. It left you really wanting for more, like we've said, like more of this. It would have been good as like a full movie than like an extended episode.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it felt like a short.
Well,
and it wasn't short.
Yeah, pretty much. It was an hourly special. It was a Halloween special, even though they didn't call it a Halloween special, but it was meant to be a Halloween special, so it came out. I think we'll see more of them. I definitely think we'll see more of the Werewolf by Night Man Thing. This is not the last time we see him.
Werewolf by Night, Marvel Zombies.
So I will say that there was another thing that I was a little sad we didn't get. No Moon Knight. Even some kind of cameo with Moon Knight. Because Moon Knight did debut in Werewolf by Night. That's where his origins come from.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't touch on the subject. Now, maybe we will see Werewolf in the second season of Moon Knight, because it's all but confirmed that we're going to get a second season of Moon Knight.
But it wasn't Mark Spector who debuted, right? It was Mark Spector who debuted.
No, it's Moon Knight all together, all around Moon Knight.
So it wasn't one of his person. All his person. Yeah, that's right.
It was Moon Knight. It was the actual Moon Knight that showed up. Mm-hmm. And of course, I think this is all supposed to lead up to Blade, but Blade is going through some troubles right now. That's one of the shows going through some. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's
all right, guys. We got about 2 minutes left before we have to get ready for the next show. Let's go ahead and give our final reviews, starting with She-Hulk. So, Andrew, on a scale of 1 through 5, 5 being the best, what would you rate She-Hulk? Very, very quickly.
3, man. I'm sorry.
3 out of 5?
3. Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it, but 3.
Awesome. Roberto, what would you do it?
2.5. I mean,
2.5.
There were parts I enjoyed and parts of it that just didn't click.
Okay. Gary?
Was this 1 to 5 or 1 to 10?
1 to 5.
Yeah,
or 0 to 5, actually. 0 to 5.
3, I'd agree. I'd say.
All right.
Fun, enjoyable, but.
Yeah.
You guys in the comments, let me know what you guys rate it. Right? Blade's not coming out for another 10 years. I don't think it's going to be 10 years.
Stop it, Josh. Stop chasing it.
I don't think it's going to be that long, Josh. But I will rate it. This is my rating. It's got 3 out of 5 Izzies for many of the same reasons we all talked about. It did fulfill the John Byrne of it all, which I did love about it. I did enjoy the John Byrne-ness of it, but I think it also failed where John Byrne succeeded in certain things. That last episode had so many problems in it, even though they were trying to go meta and we knew it. I don't think there was a problem with it going meta. I think the problem was the execution of the metanism was failed. Again, if you would have given me Kevin Feige, I would have taken it. But
yeah, I would have given it a 4.5, or
right?
even
Just
Kevin
to give you
Feige
Kevin
as MODOK, because I want Kevin Feige now as MODOK.
Now you want Kevin Feige. All right, let's go ahead with Werewolf by Night. We're starting off with Gary. Gary, you give me your rating for Werewolf by Night.
I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Just because it's not a superhero genre that I'm familiar with, but it definitely, I thought it looked great. Good acting. It was pretty fun. Enjoyed it.
And Robert?
I think I'm 4. Same thing. Like, it was good. It was fun. It could have been more, but overall enjoyable for what it was.
Andrew?
I give it a 4. Bravo to bringing stuff out of the vault and giving us more to talk about, even maybe an expanding readership to a comic book that I enjoy and more fans. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We're all in agreement. I did the same thing. I gave Werewolf by Night a 4 out of 5 Izzy's. My purpose for not giving it a 5 was we didn't get the Moon Knight, and like many of you, actually wanted more, but I don't think wanting more is a bad thing. I think wanting more is always a good thing. So I feel like we're gonna get more. I like it. But again, this is a one and done type of thing. That's all, because I don't expect to see another black and white version of a show unless they try to do something a little different. So I
Lady
enjoy.
Bloodstone, yeah, I want more for Lady Bloodstone because she.
Oh
looked
yeah,
like she was-
we're gonna see her again. I guarantee we're gonna see these people all over again.
Yeah.
So with that said, guys, I'm gonna do my final plugs. But Andrew, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me at Andrew Frank Rodriguez Art on Instagram and on YouTube. And no, not YouTube. I'm sorry. YouTube is actually Andrew Frank Rodriguez. You can also find me on Facebook. And yeah, I am starting a YouTube channel. Or I should say, getting back to it. I'm just going to be putting my drawings on. Also, I'm going to be WinterCon, and as well, I'm going to be tabling there, as well as I'll be walking around Anime Expo. So those are my two definites that I'm going to these events, and so yeah, hopefully you could buy a print by my and I'm sorry, my game I can't announce yet because games are very long to develop.
Yeah,
Just a long process.
Roberto, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Caro_Debro. I do some action figure photography, and I also help out with a page that gives news about Star Wars toys. So that's the other handle there.
It's a good page, man. It really is.
Yeah, the Star Wars toy collector. Yeah,
I want them.
Gary, where can we find you, man?
You can find my stuff at hungryartist.net, and it has all the links to my social media, as well as a link to the comic I did, Thray, A Hero's Odyssey, on Amazon.com.
Awesome, guys. I'm going to put you in the lobby for a second so I can do my final plug. So I'll see you guys in a second. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. So thank you all. We're going to be doing another show in about a half hour. So stay tuned for that one. It's going to be the New York Comic Con show. So I'm really excited to talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes, there were things that happened in New York Comic Con that we must address, that we must talk about. So that's going to happen at 9:30 today. We're going to be talking about that. I have another set of artists and writers and teams that we're going to talk a little bit about that experience, how it was. I enjoyed it, but there were certain things that didn't come out right. Also, I want to give out a shout out to my boys at Comic Exposure, who had a really good Comic Con. But if you need to get your comics and you don't have a local comic book shop to go to Comic Exposure. Get your 15% off using the promo code Izzyverse. Also, if you need supplies, that's what BCW is all about. They'll give you 10% off with promo code Izzyverse. The link is going to be in the description. And finally, one more affiliate I'm going to bring up is one that I'm very glad that we could do. Is that I am part of the Whatnot community. I do plan on doing another Whatnot show very shortly. I haven't made a decision what day, but we are going to do another Whatnot show. Utilize the Whatnot invite Izzyverse, and you're going to get not 10, but you're going to get $15 credit for your first purchase, and you could use it towards anything in Whatnot. With that said, guys, I'm also now being monetized, so you could always leave a super chat. You could always support the channel by just hitting that thank button and just leave a little something. It doesn't matter. Every penny counts, and it's going to help me and your show, because this is very much your show as it is my show. With that said, guys, I will be seeing you very shortly. Like I said, we're going to see each other at 9:30 tonight, so we can talk about New York Comic Con. Until then, I want to say thank to all of my guests who came and talked to us a little bit about She-Hulk and Werewolf by Night. You let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up and give me a nice little like and leave something in the comments. Until later, take care and Excelsior.